With the YouTube adpocalypse still looming over many channels, if you want to support this one, check out my Teespring store for the latest merch. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. And you know, when I go see a play, I buy seats. I don't know who I'm sitting next to. I don't know who's going to be near me during the play. All I know is we're all there for the same reason, to watch something that we're interested in and hopefully get a grand experience out of it. But this university theater out of Australia is making white people sign a declaration, as well as segregating them from other non-white people. And that feels weird to talk about in 2018, right? It's current year. You figure we would be past this sort of thing. People who want equality would probably be preaching equality rather than preaching segregation. Like it's the term we like to use is the regressive left, because they like to go backwards in times. However, this is more, I think, to prove a point than anything else, but let's take a quick look here to see what we're dealing with. Now, a student-created dance performance at the University of Melbourne is causing an uproar as white attendees have been segregated from people of color in the theater, and they're required to sign a declaration in order to gain entrance to the show. Now, if that happened here, and I'm sure something like that probably would happen here in the United States, seeing that it's a private event and people are paying to get on in, there's going to be arguments about like the legalities of it, but I'm very curious to know more, because why would they be doing this? Now, in America, pre-civil rights movement, we had like the segregation. You could go to a movie theater and you had the balcony had colored only, and then the main seating, the main auditorium were for whites only, and it was not a good time. It's a big stain in our country's history, and thankfully one that we're past in that regard. But this particular student created dance performance really wants to talk about that, or to show it. Now, according to the Australian, Isabella Mason's Where I Stand is designed to show how indigenous people and people of color have been excluded from society and history. Now, she admits that she's confronted some white attendees at her show, because that's good. People come to your show and you're trying to talk about this history, a lesson about people who aren't white being excluded from elements of society and history, and then of course you use it as a way to talk down to certain white attendees. That's how you win friends. That's honey. Yeah, that's all honey, right? Now, she says here that realistically, there are simply two different shows for two different audiences. The white audience in the foyer are invited to go through the process of accepting / transitioning / cleansing, similar to a rite of passage. Now, that's a little bit weird, because if you're going to be transitioning after that, can they be trans black? Can they Rachel Dolezal that stuff? Because that'd be very interesting. Now, people of color get first dibs on entering the venue, while whites have to wait outside, where 4 dancers who introduce themselves by their preferred pronouns talk to them about white privilege. Now, to me, that's the funniest thing in the world. You're standing outside, it's all like, people of color going in first, white folk to the back, white folk to the back, and then here come out these dancers like, hi, my name is Chardonnay, and I am a she, her. And she's like, hi, my name is Billy, and I'm a she, her. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Your pronoun, it doesn't matter in the general, it's wear it on a damn t-shirt then, if you want people to know. Like, it's just, it's oh my God, how much more of could you play this angle? It's so stupid. Now, this is what the Australian says. White patrons are then asked to sign a big brown piece of paper on the wall that states, I acknowledge where I stand. If they do not, they are not allowed to enter the theater. Once there are more white audience members in the theater than people of color, the show stops and the audience is left to sit and think. So they purposefully segregate white people, and then more white people show up than people of color. And which I guess would be the minority in this case, and then they're left to just, this show stops dead in its tracks, and they're left to sit there and think about what? Like, is Keenan Ivory Wayne's going to come out and just go, message? Of the 5 shows thus far, we have not had equal representation on any night. Well, could that be because your marketing sucks? The student of mixed Maori and European heritage said audience members had reacted in different ways to her show and admitted some had walked out. Well, yeah, if the show stops dead in its tracks and you're there trying to sell someone on some ideological narrative message, and they're like, this is boring, they're going to get up and they're going to leave. People have better things to do with their time than be talked down to. This, again, is where we find ourselves. When you want progress, when you want change, the best course of action is to not talk down to people, right? it really doesn't help when you're trying to get that word across. I mean, this is the internet where it's like we provide these hot takes and these snarky takes, and it sounds like we talk down because we're trying to be funny and engaging and entertaining, right? Which, yeah, sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But in person, it's a different situation entirely, right? But it's like still, if I went to an event and I'm being talked down to, I'd probably just get up and walk out. Like, I don't need to be here. Like, what's the point? You're attacking me over something instead of trying to teach me. Oh, but you think discipline is the best course of action? Ah, yeah, nah. You gotta spare the rod on this one. She says, I've had a number of people contact me to tell me their own experiences and thank me. Many have cried, many have been angry, or some have been angry and some have walked out. I don't think people called her to say, I'm very thankful for the experience. The Institute of Public Affairs Director Bella Diabera said the University of Melbourne should cancel the performance. Let's see why. It's reverse segregation. If people are paying for tickets and taxpayers are funding the VCA, then they should be let in, or they should stop the performance. I'm not surprised the university hasn't criticized this. I'd be more surprised if they did. This is more taxpayer-funded identity politics. And actually, on that particular point, I completely agree with her, simply because this is a taxpayer-funded thing, and everyone should have right to it. If it's essentially a public accommodation in that particular regard, where you cannot be denied based upon your race or your gender or whatever, and then you're trying to segregate people and force them to sign a declaration and go through some kind of transition process after being spoken to about white privilege by 4 dancers who immediately open the conversation by announcing their pronoun. Yeah. Maybe you should hold it off site. It's kind of like the Evergreen College Day of Absence thing. They did the whole anti-white narrative this year, but they did it off campus at a private event. I don't have issue with that because it was off campus, off a public area. This is something that is basically public for the citizens of Australia. Now, one attendee and his partner refused to sign the paper and compared the whole situation to the Chinese Cultural Revolution, saying, I don't blame the girls involved in the piece. They are young and self-righteous. I do blame the University of Melbourne for allowing racial selection on campus in any shape or form. I am gobsmacked, by the way. Gobsmacked is a term that I believe should make a comeback. That any university would preside over any event where entry is based on skin color. I naively thought that this was a line that even the regressive left wouldn't cross. Oh, sir. No, they will cross it. They will cross it because they can. And no one will stop them. No one will stop them. The only way to really stop this is to, I would honestly say, I don't believe in like civil disobedience, right? But civil discourse I do believe in. I would go to this event and I would tell them no. And I would basically kind of turn on their ears. Like, you want equality. The thing is, they claim they want equality, right? But they like to mix around the word equality and equity. They do this quite often. To many people, it sounds very similar. They think, oh, they want equality and they want equity, right? Well, no, equity is to be given something, to have something. Equality is that we're all equal. The terms are different, but they don't ever like to, argue that fact. And so they like to push these types of events. And because we're in this weird phase right now where people aren't standing up to this, and look, I understand why people don't want to stand up to it. I get it, right? Like, look, racism is a real thing. Okay. But to quote Avenue Q's, everyone's a little bit racist. Bigotry has never been exclusively white. And I think that's a great line that more people need to acknowledge. This is a bigoted performance that's trying to push you could call it like a study in history, what has happened, transgressed in our society, so to speak, which I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? If you want to talk about it, that's fine. You have the right to talk about it, but you don't have the right to segregate people on a public campus, force people to sign something to get in, and go from there. If you want that, hold this at a private event that's not taxpayer funded, and then go from there. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't speaking out for this sort of thing as often as they should. And I think it's building up and it's welling up in certain people. And we're seeing a louder pushback from certain elements of society that are feeding into the anger of people towards the center that are told that they're always the problem, even though they've done nothing wrong. And this is, again, pendulums always swing back the other direction. and we're heading into a not a good place with the pendulum in this regard when it comes to identity politics. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. I am curious to know your thoughts. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. If you haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and check back often for more content from me. In fact, if you want to see more content from me, you can always just click on the end, or you can support the channel via Patreon or Teespring. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day.